Last night I watched Blue Valentine, and I just wanted to give a review and briefly discuss my thoughts about the movie. It was made in 2010. It stars Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams. This movie was really good, actually, and I wasn't sure what to expect when going into it. I had heard sort of, for the most part, positive things, but I had read about it perhaps being rated NC-17 upon its initial release, and it kind of sparked some controversy with regard to its subject matter. It was supposed to be very raw, and there was supposed to be some sexuality that was sort of not really extreme, but was conveyed in such a way that again, it gave a very raw appeal, and therefore it um, perhaps was deserving of a harsh rating. Now, it wasn't really that extreme. I mean, it was a raw film, certainly, and it was portrayed with a certain sense of realism, particularly with, I suppose, the sex scenes. But, I mean, it wasn't anything overly explicit, at least in my eyes. So, the movie is essentially about these two characters, Ryan Gosling's character and Michelle Williams' character, and the story is told from two different perspectives at two different times in the characters' lives. So basically, it shows them when they initially met, and it kind of it juxtaposes basically the perspective then upon their initial meeting to their current situation. And it more or less just kind of illustrates the kind of evolution, I suppose, of their relationship from their initial meeting up until the present point. And again, it essentially does that by intermixing or intercutting kind of segments from the period in which they initially met to certain scenes that they're currently going through now. And you'll have one scene, from 5 years ago or something like that to the present time, and then you'll kind of learn more about the background of the characters as the, I guess, contemporary portion of the movie kind of plays on. And yeah, the movie was really good, I thought. It sort of reminded me. It seemed reminiscent of Bergman's movie Scenes from a Marriage and sort of other Bergman films, which kind of also attempt to I don't know, give a realistic depiction, I suppose, of not just marriage, but of relationships and romantic relationships in general. And Bergman always had this way of sort of capturing the the negativity and kind of the pessimistic perspective of relationships. And this film certainly, I guess, does that as well. Although it also, at the same time, does a really good job of showing both the positives and the negatives of relationships, particularly as it relates to the general sort of euphoria involved with initially making connection with someone and then sort of watching that unfold as suddenly people kind of tend to get tired of the other person and then and then just kind of fall out of love, I suppose. Now, I guess it could be argued whether or not the characters were actually in love or just sort of lusting to begin with. I mean, that's sort of ambiguous in the movie. But I really, really enjoyed the performances. Both Gosling and Williams gave really, really, really spectacular performances. And what was really fascinating was the way in which they were able to realistically convey a sort of sense of the euphoric sense of having an initial connection, which of course was from the earlier perspective when they first met. And there are just these kind of quirky scenes where they're just kind of doing these simple things and are really obviously driving a lot of pleasure just being in each other's company. And then that's essentially dramatically juxtaposed with their current situation where they can't even physically really make contact with each other, at least from one, I guess, one character's perspective. Uh, Physical contact can't be made without like this sort of sense of revulsion toward the other. And in that regard, it's definitely, I suppose it's a relatively realistic portrayal of the evolution of a relationship or of a marriage in general. And again, the way that the characters actually went from one extreme to the other, the way that the performances were able to convey the one extreme to another. I mean, you really bought that, you know, there was something special between them when they initially met, and then that there was there were some serious issues going on with them right now. And so, and I definitely think that the movie captured that very well. Everything else was really good about the movie. The direction, the cinematography, the soundtrack was kind of interesting. Um, yeah, pretty much a really good movie all around. I definitely think that it's top 10 material for 2010. Probably maybe even top 5 material. I'm not sure. I had to probably think about it more. But I'm going to give the movie 4 out of 5 stars, which is a really good rating for me. And I will recommend the movie. For a lot of people, it's going to be definitely a downer. There were a few scenes there where they're sort of fighting that were, to me, that were just awesome. I mean, I don't know, something about hostility between characters and relationships. I don't know. There's something interesting that sort of draws me to scenes like that, and so I really was getting a kick out of them. I thought they were really well done, but some people might find them off-putting. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm going to stop now before I keep talking and talking and talking. So watch the movie if it sounds interesting to you. If you like movies, perhaps that are slightly more pessimistic, probably don't watch it when you're depressed. Might not be a good idea.